Hello and welcome to my podcast, and thank you very much for tuning in again. Today we're going to be talking about stalking. But before we start, I'd just like to thank everybody who's watched, followed, subscribed, commented, and the people who've messaged support, and people who've actually spoken to me in the street and supported and didn't realise what was going on. Well, I haven't even started to say what we went through. It's also good that people have been messaging that things have happened to them similar. Nobody even that's messaging thinks it's as bad. And even though it's great, obviously, to have people, it's awful that people have gone through it. It's a bit of a catch-22 because you think, oh, well, at least I'm not alone. Other people have had similar experiences, but obviously it's awful that somebody has gone through that. Anyway, back to the stalking. So this is about North Yorkshire Police because those are the people that failed me. So that's the force that I'm, talk about the most, obviously. And it's about them putting on their social media and numerous posts for people to come forward if they've been stalked. And not only if they've been stalked, if they know somebody has been stalked, you can come forward. And it's also about a post that says about child sexual abuse that they will get a prosecution. Well, I don't know about that, but watch the rest of the video and see what you think, and see what you think of the comments that people put. I haven't put all the comments because there were just, I'd say hundreds by now. So click on it, obviously, and go down and look at the comments if you want to. I've just put a handful on because there were that many and there were not. If there was about 2 positive ones, I'd be amazed. So they have failed a lot of people. So the people that say call me a liar or somebody else a liar that's gone to the police about it and nothing's happened, they can't all be liars. Anyway, judge for yourself.
So what is stalking? Well, according to the CPS, it's following a person, contacting or attempting to contact a person by any means, publishing any statement or other material relating or purporting to relate to a person, or purporting to originate from a person, monitoring the use by a person of the internet, email or any form of electronic communication, loitering in any place, whether public or private, interfering with any property in the possession of a person, or watching or spying on a person. So the reason why I'm doing this one is that's because North Yorkshire Police then have put out a number of posts on their social media. And they put these posts out. There was a lot of them. There was one on the 16th of May. There are others, but I'm just going through to show you a few here. There was one on the 28th of May. And there was another one put in on May. So I think within about a week, 29th of May, sorry. So they're encouraging people to come forward if you've been stalked. And they put the hashtag when you are ready, because they said, you might not be ready straight away. So, you need to have time to come forward. And also they're encouraging if you wanted to report somebody else that you thought had been stalked. So, okay, so you've been stalked. You think, right, I'm going to trundle off to the police and contact them and they're going to sort it out. But then what was quite frightening was I looked at the responses. Pretty frightening. Now, I've had dealings with North Yorkshire Police, but to be fair, the Chief Constable has now changed. And so I thought, well, maybe they've got better, because my ex was never investigated for stalking, even though he bugged our caravan. After a lengthy legal battle, which I've said on the other video that I went through, the North Yorkshire Police very reluctantly agreed that obviously he should have been investigated for stalking. But Sergeant, can you believe a Sergeant, Schofield, said that incredibly he'd done nothing wrong, even though he admitted placing the bug. Now, he didn't admit placing the bug because he was kind. I'll go in further into that, why it benefited him for a more serious case. So now we'll be doing a separate video on him bugging our caravan and how the police failed to protect us. But these are all the answers to the post that North Yorkshire Police have put out about stalking. And here's Sue Sherwood, who said she's reported her incident and will not have been funny, but any CCD footage that would have been perfect for evidence will no longer be available 5 weeks after the event. So they hadn't gone in and got the CCD footage. She found a tracker in a car and gave it to the police, didn't fingerprint it. You can read it for yourself. You can obviously stop the video and read these for yourself. They're shocking. Jill then responds and says they failed to act. Stop police officer from acting. I overheard a body radio transmitting and saying the force is keeping out of it. I was even told, oh God, I haven't read this, if he shoots you, at least we will know who has done it. Oh my God. Anna Wilson, this is not the case. I know of people who have suffered, so she's obviously responding to them saying, will sort stalking, and she's putting this is not the case. I know of people who have suffered in silence, even though reporting abusive and stalking behaviour. No safeguards put in place and left to deal with it themselves. The police don't always tell the truth. Paul says, report your stalkers for posting mean tweets on social media and see how fast Plod will come running. And Alice has put, is this a late April Fool's post? And that's obviously in response to them putting that they will sort stalking out. And then we've got another one. There are honestly loads. Nikki Turnbull, you've got to be joking, right? My friend was stalked by her ex and you did absolutely naff all about it, saying they were both in public when she was walking her dog and he'd drive past beeping. And then we've got another one here. Danielle, strange, you posted the same things a few days ago, and a number of people have commented on it and reported stalking. So it looks like you take no action, but they just put the post out. And this is what I say: they put the post out thinking people, the general public, think, oh, look what they're doing, but they don't. And then there's another one. They never do it. It's a waste of time. Even with witnesses, they don't do alt. And somebody else has responded, you beat me to it. So obviously they've had a problem. And it's just one after another. And all these people that have been failed. And Wella Watson, she puts, which is interesting, she said, for all the people who've been failed, contact MP Rachel Maskell. I did, and she didn't do anything, but according to Weller, she's obviously done something for her, which is good. But I told them about my stalking, about him bugging our home, and she did absolutely nothing about it. But there you go, maybe worth a contact, because she has done something for somebody else, as it clearly puts. And then somebody's put, about time, I wish I had these laws 10 years ago. Funny police were in my kitchen when it was happening and nothing yet sorted. So there is just constant, if you go on the actual posts of the police, they are relentless, the people that are commenting and saying that the police have done nothing. And so all these people just cannot be liars, it's just an impossibility. So they're obviously failing loads and loads of victims. So they're asking these people to come forward, but what they don't tell you is that the conviction rate, particularly for sexual offences, which I'm going to go on to, is exceptionally low. I mean, you can't get figures from the CPS, but you're looking at like conviction rates to something like 1, some people are saying 5, 6, 7, 8%, but not high percentage whatsoever. So you think about it, of all the 100 people that come, even if we go on, let's go on 10%, let's go on 20%, there's 80 people that are failed. And what they don't realise is what happens to those people. Once they go to the police, they're encouraged to come forward, they've put the advert out and they come, all right, okay, I'm going to go to the police. What happens when they arrest that person that they have called a stalker or abuse them, whatever you want to say? What happens to that victim when the police turn around and say, well, I'm sorry, there's not enough evidence to prosecute? So I asked the police this on their social media. The CPS prosecution rate for sexual offences is 1%. I do believe it's a little bit higher than that, but it's still very low. So what happens to the victims you're encouraging to come forward when they either don't get a charge or a prosecution, and the abuser goes around telling everyone it was a false allegation and the victim is vilified in their own hometown? When you're asking victims to come forward, what support do you have in place when that happens? Now, anybody with a rational mind and a logical mind would think, well, that's actually a really good question. What support is there? I've never had a response to that, and I'll tell you what support there is. There's absolutely none. So they're getting these people to come forward and they're not telling the truth of what happened. They're not telling them how the judicial system actually works. Because if you go and you say I'm being stalked or whatever, and they investigate and there is not enough evidence to prosecute that person or charge that person will walk away and they can say what they like about you in a small town or a village. They can say false allegation, and they're going to say to people, aren't they? Say, oh, he's arrested, oh my God, that's awful, and what happened? Oh, nothing. There wasn't any evidence, so it's a false allegation. The police aren't there to protect. And I'm absolutely outraged when I read this bit. This is what is on North Yorkshire Police's own social media pages. Beyond outrageous what they've put. So this is a post about somebody who has been convicted, and they've put at the bottom, I hope the outcome gives confidence to victims of any kind of sexual abuse to come forward. Doesn't matter how long ago it happened, we can and will prosecute the perpetrators. That is an absolute lie. It's a completely false promise. You can never ever say that you can prosecute the perpetrators, and that is on the police's own social media site. The prosecution rate is unbelievably low, which I'll go to talk on about, but nobody, even if it was high, even if the prosecution rate was 95-96%, there is absolutely no way on this earth that they can promise to prosecute every single person that has an allegation against them, and to put that on there is absolutely disgusting. I just don't know how they could get away with this, and I commented on that and I've never had a response. And victims should be made aware of this, especially when they're just about begging them to come forward. They're just 1 in 32 rape offences ends in a charge. So you've got 31 people out of there going back to their hometowns and being vilified because they will get called a false allegation. Obviously, the police have done nothing. What they also don't tell you, that one person in that 32, then when they go to court, there's a 1 to 3% chance of a prosecution. So you have a low level chance of getting a charge, and you've even a lower level chance of getting a prosecution. Now, I'm not saying to anybody don't go forward to the police, that's your own decision, but they shouldn't be putting out comments saying that they will get a prosecution when actually it's very low, and they should be saying there is no support afterwards. So if you don't get a charge, there is no support. And it says, this is on the House of Lords Library, it says, in the 2021 end-to-end rape review, the Conservative government pointed to a sharp decrease in rape prosecutions since 2016-2017. Issues cited included long delays during the criminal justice process and a lack of specialist support by victims. Labour's 2024, so that was only last year, general election manifesto argued prosecutions were shamefully low. So across England and Wales, 2.6% of rape offences led to a charge or summons, while the overall charge rate for all recorded offences was 6.4%, which is absolutely diabolical. So I hope you enjoyed that in the sort of loosest sense of the term. Hope you learnt from that, or hope you got something out of it. I'll be talking more about false allegations and how they damage people, in the way that that victims go forward and they call the false allegation card to the perpetrator. Now, obviously, I know there's false allegations, I'm fully aware of that, but we are going from the victim's perspective of what happened to us. So I don't want people screaming there, go, well, it was a false allegation, mine was true. Of course there's true false allegations. I'm doing it on a broader spectrum where the police don't do a charge, they get victims to come forward, and the perpetrator immediately calls a false allegation card. So we're talking about that later. I also touched on our bugging. I'll be doing a full video on that and how we were failed, and how Sergeant Schofield said that it wasn't stalking. We have proven that in a court of law that it was actually stalking and it should have been investigated. So there'll be loads more coming. So thank you very much for watching, and bye.